Good morning, and welcome to the Financial Optimist. And today I'm asking the question, is college even worth it anymore? Let's dive right in. So let's say you're someone 18 years old, getting ready to graduate high school this next year. You're thinking about going to college and you're debating, should you go, should you not go? Well, the question is whether it's worth it or not. It really does depend. So let's look at the numbers. Let's put some cold hard facts on the table, and let's come to some conclusions here. So when it comes to your local community college, tuition is about $4,000 per year on average. But notice how room and board is $10,000. So you're paying more for housing than you are for the schooling. So if you live with your parents, you can pay $4,000 per year for your community college for your associate's degree. If you move away, you're paying $14,000. That's more than triple the cost for your first year of college, and you're getting the same education. And what about a bachelor's degree at a university for an in-state school? If just the tuition is $11,000 per year, but the room and board is about $13,000 per year. So it's $24,000 per year if you're moving out on your own, but $11,000 per year if you're staying with your parents. So you're starting to notice a trend here. And if you go out of state, now we're talking a massive, massive increase. $30,000 just for the tuition, plus the $13,000 for the room and board. We're talking almost $42,000 in total. And what kind of classes are you really taking your first year? English 101, Math 101, Science 101, History 101. You're taking all your prereqs the first year. So you could spend $40,000, or you could spend $4,000 or $40,000 to take the exact same classes. That's a tenfold increase in cost by moving out of state, or a 90% savings by staying with the parents. And so if you want to go to school, you have to have the right strategy. And here's a strategy that I did for my schooling. I stayed home with the parents for the first 2 years, got my associate's degree completed at a community college. Then I transferred to a university that was in-state, stayed with the parents another 2 years, and I paid the lower tuition cost. And the numbers here are actually pretty close to what I paid for my degree. So 2 years here, 2 years here is roughly $30,000. It's about what I paid for my college degree. So you could get the whole entire degree for $30,000. But if you go out of state and you pay $42,000 a year, you're talking almost $170,000 for the same degree. 5 times more expensive to get it out of state versus living with your parents and doing it in state. And you're getting the exact same degree from effectively the same kind of school. It's just a state school. So you look at the cost here, you realize, with the wrong strategy, if you plan to move out of state, I would say college isn't worth it. If you live with your parents and you keep the cost low, it is worth it, especially if you do what I did and you worked several jobs while going to college and you earned the money and you paid for the degrees you went. I graduated completely debt-free. I never borrowed a single penny. And that really helped me a lot because when COVID hit, I was graduating from university just as everything was locking down. And so as the world was falling apart, fortunately, I had no student loans to pay back. So I had one less problem to worry about. If I had a lot of student loans to pay back, I'd be dealing with the whole forbearance mess that's going on right now. Fortunately, I don't have to deal with that. So is college worth it? It depends. With the right kind of strategy, it is. With the wrong kind of strategy, it's not. But when it comes to student loans, if you choose to borrow the money instead of paying cash like I have done in the past, it's about $30,000 per borrower on average. Is about what you'd expect to graduate with. And that $30,000 is just the principal. It doesn't include the interest. How much is the interest? Well, if you have a $30,000 loan at 7% and you make monthly payments of $200, it'll take 30 years to pay back the loan, and you pay back $41,000 of interest on top of a $30,000 loan, meaning you actually paid $71,000 for that degree. So by taking the loan route, borrowing the money, and by taking a long time to pay it off, you're really overpaying for the degree. Let's go ahead and increase the monthly payments to $300 per month. At that point, you paid off in 12 and a half years, and the interest goes down to just $15,000. So you borrow $30,000, you pay back $45,000. Now you might be thinking, hang on a minute, that's a 7% interest rate, but you're paying 50% more than what you borrowed. How does that work? Well, 7% per year, not 7% total. So the more years you take to pay it off, the more you have to pay back. So that's one thing is, if you're someone that already has student loans and you've already got the degree, the best strategy for you is to overpay on your student loans. Here we have the same loan, but we're paying $600 per month. Now we can pay it off within 5 years, and we only pay $5,000 of interest. So you borrow $30,000, you pay back $35,000. So if you're someone that already has the loans and you don't have the option of going back and redoing your degree, overpaying the monthly payments would be the best strategy for you. If you're someone that's still in high school or about to go to college, choosing a local school, living with the parents, that's the best strategy for you. So with the right strategy, you can be successful. It just depends on what situation you find yourself in right now. Now, when it comes to what degree to go for, Some degrees pay more than others. Here we have engineering at 77,000, computer sciences 75,000, math at 71,000, social sciences at 70,000, humanities 68,000, business at 64,000. So these are some of the highest paying college professions you could expect fresh out of college. And these are entry level salaries I'm talking about here. Well, what about some of the lowest paying jobs? Well, here we have a lot of the performing arts, studio arts, drama, theater, visual performing arts. You're talking 40,000, 45,000, 40,000, 45. This one's at 50,000. So this gives us a rough idea of what the entry level salaries are after graduation. Some of the lowest paying jobs will pay about 40,000 a year. Some of the highest paying jobs will pay about 75,000 per year. So fresh out of college, you can expect to make somewhere between 40,000 and 75,000 per year would be a very realistic salary range for a fresh college graduate. However, there's other considerations to make. So this chart here shows us the median salary based on education. You may go, oh hey, a bachelor's degree, $80,000, a lot better than the high school diploma at $48,000. But keep in mind, they're taking out tens of thousands of dollars worth of student loans. And you look at this and go, wait a second, 80,000? I thought you just said the highest paying one's around 75. Well, that's because this is the median salary, meaning half of all people make more than this, half of all of them make less than this. So your starting salary may be something like this or something like this. After about 10 years of experience, you probably make something like this. And then after 20 years of experience, you make more than that. So maybe you start off at 60,000 a year. After 10 years, make 80,000 a year. After 20 years, you're making 100,000 a year. And that's how they calculate these types of numbers. It includes both the young and the old, the college graduates and the fresh retirees. It includes everything into one number. So if you're looking at this chart thinking college is worth it, well, not exactly, because this is not a starting salary. These are starting salaries. This is how much you might make after years of experience. But one thing I really care about is the actual active job listings. So if we go over here to Indeed, we look at jobs, and I filtered here for jobs with bachelor's degree, jobs, that are full-time, jobs that are entry-level, and I'm looking at Jacksonville, Florida here. So let's look at some jobs. So certified pharmacy technician 2. It shows us here 20 to 27 an hour, but you look at the description, you'll notice it says high school diploma and 6 months experience. So if you're fresh out of college with no experience, you don't qualify for the job. If you're a high school graduate that got working in the industry and you have some experience, you do qualify for the job. So having a college degree doesn't really help you. And $20 an hour is about $40,000 per year. So even though I filtered for jobs that require a bachelor's degree, this one just prefers it, doesn't require it. So about a hospital pharmacy tech 1. Well, here, if you scroll down, it's got the same pay range, about 20 to 26 an hour. Same deal, or high school diploma required. This one doesn't require experience, but it doesn't require education. So whether you do or don't go to college, you make the same money as a hospital pharmacy tech, about 40 to 50,000 per year. All right, let's keep looking at a few more jobs here. This one at the Mayo Clinic offers 79,000 to 118,000 a year. Okay, now we're talking some good money. But let's look at the qualifications. Here, bachelor's degree with 5 years experience. So even though I'm searching for an entry-level job, it requires 5 years of experience. So you're not going to make this kind of money entry-level. You have to be there for several years. Also notice this. High school graduates could get the job with 9 years experience. So you think, hang on a minute. If you get a job there out of high school, you work there for 9 years, you can make that kind of money. But if you spend 4 years going to schooling and then get 5 years experience, you're both at the same age, but you're making the same money. So is college really worth it? I mean, maybe. But you have to think, okay, in order for a college degree to be worth it, doesn't it have to make more money than jobs that don't require a college degree? So let's keep looking. Here you go for Amazon, an area manager. It makes about 63,000 to 83,000 per year. Let's look at the requirements. You'll notice bachelor's or master's, and it does not require experience. So with that said, if you're fresh out of college and you're looking for a job that requires education but not experience, this is the kind of job you might look for. And about 64,000 per year is what you'd expect. When they give you a pay range, typically if you're fresh out of college, you'll make this much. If you have education plus experience, you can probably make that much. But again, this is a fairly representative job of the kind of things you can get fresh out of college, the kind of pay you can make. But mind you, bachelor's or master's. So now you're competing with people with a master's degree and you only have a bachelor's. So keep that in mind. Plus, if you went to university for 4 years, you weren't necessarily working full-time for 4 years. So you have 4 years of lost wages, plus the student loans to pay back, plus interest, and you're making this kind of money. Or if you just want to get a job fresh out of high school, you can make a little bit less, and you have no loans to pay back, no interest, and you were working for those 4 years. So is it worth it? Maybe. Let's look at one more job here. Utility plant operator makes 24 to 35 an hour. So overall, pretty good money. Qualifications, high school diploma required and 2 years experience. So a college degree doesn't guarantee you a job. They only require high school and they require 2 years experience. So we're starting to notice a trend here. Jobs tend to require experience more often than they require education. So if you get a job out of high school and get experience, you're perhaps a bit more hireable than someone who has education and no experience. Of course, it depends where you go. But if you're someone that never went to college and you just got a job, you could be pulling these kinds of numbers after several years of experience. That is possible. So what if you're someone looking for an entry-level job, fresh out of high school, and you're thinking, hey, just get myself a job working at a warehouse. Something simple, right? Well, here we go. 22 an hour, 22 an hour, 24 an hour, 17.50, 19 an hour, 16 an hour, 20 an hour, 18 an hour, 20 an hour, 22 an hour. So we're looking at these jobs, go, hang on a minute. This is only a little bit less than jobs that were requiring college degrees. Like these were like 20, 25 an hour. These jobs are like 22 an hour, 20 an hour, some are a little less. So whether you go to college or don't, your first job could pay around 20 bucks an hour either way. And these are jobs that don't require experience. And once you've been here for a few years, you get promoted to a lead, 21, 24 an hour, a supervisor, 65 to 75,000 a year. So this job here, let's look at the qualifications. So this one does want to have a bachelor's degree. So again, if say you're working in a warehouse making this kind of money while going to school, you graduate with a bachelor's degree, you get promoted up to supervisor, so you have experience plus you have education, you can make some decent money there. And so that could be one strategy for success. In that case, getting a degree in logistics may be worthwhile if you're working at a factory while going to school or working at a warehouse while going to school. So with that kind of a strategy, it can be worth it. But if you're just going to school and you have no experience and you're applying for this kind of job, well, you're competing against people like this who've been there for 5 years and maybe don't have the schooling, but they have the education or the experience. So with the right kind of strategy, schooling is worth it. With the wrong strategy, it's not. And there's one more consideration to make: artificial intelligence. So AI has started to replace certain workers in the job market, and it's mainly going after the entry-level jobs. So if you're someone that's been in a career field for 20 years, you're probably safe for a little while. But if you're a fresh college graduate looking for a new job, these are the industries that are most impacted. You got healthcare, you got finance, retail, manufacturing, logistics, energy, utilities, education, agriculture, entertainment, legal services, hospitality, HR, government, real estate. So we look at this information and we ask ourselves, okay, well, I mean, if these are jobs impacted by artificial intelligence, what if you start your college degree now? In 4 years from now, how many jobs are there going to be if AI is perhaps reducing the amount of available entry-level jobs? So if you're going to college for a degree, you could end up making, about 20 bucks an hour with your first job after you took out $40,000 of loans. Or you could just get a job at a warehouse making the same kind of money, 20 bucks an hour, and you didn't take out student loans. So with AI coming into the mix, you have to consider, okay, if I'm taking out loans, how much of a risk am I taking? Because going back to that student loan calculator, remember I was talking about some people go out of state $40,000 per year. So what if we do that? $40,000 per year for those 4 years is about $170,000. If you pay back $1,000 per month, it'll take you 70 years to pay back your degree just as AI takes your job away. Let's say increase your payments to $1,500 a month. Now we're talking 15 years to pay back your degree, and you're paying $109,000 of interest on a $170,000 loan. So you're paying almost $300,000 for a bachelor's degree if you're going out of state and paying room and board. And that's about what some doctors are paying for their medical degree. This is just a bachelor's degree. So again, out of state, not worth it. In state, living with your parents can be worth it. But keep in mind, you don't know what's going to happen in the future. So if you go to college, you have a guarantee of taking on debt, but no guarantee of a job. That's why if you go to college, the only way to make it worth it is if you're paying cash, living locally with your parents, doing university the cheap way, and you don't borrow money. It can be worth it there. And you look at the job opportunities, it can make you a little bit more money than jobs that don't require a college degree because, on average, it does make a little more money. So if you go to college the smart way, get a degree in the right kind of field, and you keep in mind AI could be a factor in the future, with the right strategy, college can still be worth it. But for the majority of degrees, for the majority of students, for the majority of situations, it just isn't worth it anymore. You look at the numbers, you realize for most people it's not worth it, but for some people, with the right degree and the right strategy, it still can be worth it. So before going to college, make sure you do the math and crunch the numbers. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you again next time.